Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Anthony Joshua and Usyk have the rematch coming up on August 20th. There's been a lot of opinions about AJ, about what AJ should have done after he lost to Usyk, about what AJ needs to do going into this rematch as far as his training and what AJ needs to do when he enters that ring. Fans have an opinion. Some of AJ's colleagues have an opinion. Other promoters have an opinion. I mean, guys outside the sport of boxing have an opinion, and probably most importantly, Eddie Hearn has a very strong opinion. Now, I think opinions are mixed when it comes to AJ and his selecting Robert Garcia to prepare him for the rematch with Oleksandr Usyk. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and continue on and be consistent. I think AJ wins the rematch, okay? I definitely think he needs to be vicious, he needs to be dirty, and he needs to do what it takes to win. But Robert Garcia came out and said AJ needs to come in there and damage him and have the mentality to go in and want to hurt people. And we know Robert Garcia brings that out of a lot of his boxers. The mentality to be ferocious and go in there and hurt. Not go in there and shake hands and keep touching gloves and share your belts and all that crap. Go in there with the intention to hurt that man by any means necessary. Essentially meaning be ready to die. And that's what Robert Garcia is saying. That's what Eddie Hearn is saying. And that is my understanding. That is Anthony Joshua's mentality. To go into that fight ready to die, but get the victory and live to talk about how he defeated Usyk in their rematch. Now, a lot of people are saying, and I think you guys would agree, even if you're just like a really avid, diehard AJ fan, this rematch, I think because AJ came into the rematch with Ruiz and he beat him so easily, I think going into this rematch, for some people, it's almost understood that AJ is going to win because he beat Ruiz in the rematch. To that I say, it's not the same opponent, okay? People need to hold their horses, need to take the emotion out of it, and understand what AJ is facing. Usyk is coming into this with the same mentality. Ready to die. Biggie Smalls, baby. And that could be a huge issue for Anthony Joshua. If for any moment in that fight where Usyk touches him, because at some point they're both going to hit each other, if AJ all of a sudden goes into safety first mode, defensive mode, then that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt AJ, and that's going to show that he's just really never recovered from the Ruiz fight. He just has to go in there and let it all go. AJ is probably the strongest heavyweight out there. I think he may be the strongest heavyweight. Who's the hardest puncher? Some people say Deontay Wilder. Kind of hard to disagree with that. But AJ probably hits equally as hard. Whose chin is better? I don't know. They both have been in tough fights and have gotten clipped. No one's gotten really knocked out cold. When Deontay Wilder lost in that third fight with Tyson Fury, it was just more the volume of punches, the hard punches that he got hit with, the power shots he got hit with, and just being so fatigued, man. It was like a war of attrition, which Deontay Wilder just eventually, he went till he couldn't go anymore. Like there was nothing left for that man to give. That is kind of the mentality AJ should have. That's why there's a lot of people, no matter if you like Deontay Wilder or not, people can't knock, and they don't knock how he performed in that third fight. Everyone gave him credit and gives him kudos because he has no regrets. He didn't lose his right to complain. He fought as hard as he could and gave everything. And to be honest, it looked like he was ready to die in that damn ring because he almost got beat to death. Now, Anthony Joshua against an opponent who, obviously Usyk has some pop, but he's not Tyson Fury, okay? He's not 270 plus pounds. He's not 6'10", 6'9", 6'10". He's not someone who's going to create a whole bunch of problems from a distance, who can get that kind of leverage on the shot that Tyson Fury was able to get on Deontay Wilder. So Anthony Joshua should be the guy imposing his size and will on Usyk. But it's a mentality. You know, boxing really is 90% mental. But if it's not there, it's not going to work. But I think Robert Garcia is building his confidence back up, and he's just telling him all the things he needs to hear. You know, Robert Garcia has been in the ring with a lot of different boxers. He's held mitts from a lot of different boxers. I don't know how many heavyweights that he's held mitts for, but he's held mitts for a lot of boxers. But I don't think he's blowing smoke when he says AJ has insane power. For those of you who are saying that Robert Garcia is just saying what he has to say to promote the fight, put it to you this way, right? You think Derek Chisora hits hard? You saw what he did to Spilka, right? After Spilka, boom, left to the body, came back up to the head, right hook to the head, knocked him out, cold, just totally obliterated him, right? So Derek Chisora has power. We all agree on that, right? Derek Chisora against Pulev, that first fight and second fight. Did he hurt Pulev? Yeah, he hurt him a couple times. What did Anthony Joshua do to Pulev? Okay, so if we're going to say Derek Chisora has power, and he couldn't knock out Pulev, and Anthony Joshua damn near killed Pulev in the fight. So you got to say Anthony Joshua hits way harder than Derek Chisora. Something special in those hands of Anthony Joshua, okay? So it's just a matter of him just letting his shots go in this fight. He definitely has to have that mentality of being ready to die. Now, the thing about this, if he fights Usyk in Saudi Arabia and he loses the fight, his career isn't over. Eddie Hearn's already gone on and said, man, it just doesn't even make sense for people to even talk about the possibility of Anthony Joshua retiring. He said if Anthony Joshua was to lose to Usyk, he would be shocked. He said he would be shocked. He doesn't foresee on 20 August in Saudi Arabia that the Watford fighter is going to get knocked out by Usyk. He said he just doesn't see that. And, you know, Usyk is a cunning southpaw. But they know what they're up against. Okay? They know what they're up against with Usyk. And getting text, let me mute my phone, man. They know what they're up against, but for AJ to suffer a second consecutive loss, I'm going to tell you what that means. Okay? It means that AJ, he's still a top heavyweight. He still is going to be someone who's going to be in the conversations with all the top heavyweights. He's still a huge draw, probably still be one of the largest pay-per-view attractions in boxing. But what's going to happen to AJ is he's probably going to be more kind of on the outside of those championship type fight discussions. That's what's going to happen to AJ. He's going to be like he wasn't good enough, and they're just going to start moving in other guys to get those opportunities. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and then maybe even Joshua for a third time. But as soon as that fight ends, if he loses for some reason, has a consecutive loss to Usyk, you're going to see a Wilder and Tyson Fury. Those are going to be the next two guys, I think, to get shots at that undisputed distinction. To get a shot at to be unified heavyweight champion, just so happened with Tyson Fury be undisputed because he has a WBC belt. But when it comes to him, man, AJ loves boxing. Eddie Hearn feels AJ's going to be around for a while. They just signed this huge deal. Let me tell you, AJ's supposed to be making at least $100 million a fight. That's crazy. At least $100 million from here on out. He just has to win. So he has a lot on the line, man. For AJ, it's not just getting a win and saying, okay, hey, look at me. I'm the unified heavyweight champion again. I can go out here and still command my $50 million paydays. AJ is in a whole nother stratosphere right now. He's about to make like 120 to 150 million, something crazy. And Usyk's making like 50 or 60. If AJ wins this fight, every fight after this, AJ's making at least 100 million a fight. Pretty impressive, right? We're going to see if they can pull it off, man. If AJ was to clip Usyk, I think he would clip him within 6 rounds. He'd have to do it when he has stamina, when he has energy. AJ can't wait around and then decide in the 7th or 8th, 9th, 10th round that he's going to pour it on. Usyk gets stronger as the fight goes on, and that's where we're going to have a huge problem, man, for Anthony Joshua. If he doesn't get off now, Anthony Joshua is going to have a huge problem if he doesn't get off in those early rounds. But I'll go ahead and leave it as that. Everybody right now is really preaching to AJ to be ready to go in that ring and die. That's the only way they feel that he can defeat Usyk. Usyk has a lot that he's fighting for as well. And it's an uphill battle for both, man. I'm not saying what one's fighting for is more important than the other. What I'm saying is they're both fighting for something that to them is equally important. And we're going to get a really good fight. But I think Anthony Joshua has everything it takes to win this fight. He just has to be like that kind of Mike Tyson, Marcos Maidana, that kind of this real nasty mentality. Roberto Duran in his prime mentality. Like hurt you, man. Just don't care. Even if the referee doesn't say break, no clean breaks, no friendly breaks, no sportsmanship type conduct in the ring. You don't want to be a pig, but any opportunity to hurt that man and get the win. That's what AJ has to do. The thing is, I'm going to go ahead and put this out there, man. I want to see AJ be like that, but at his core, I don't think he's that kind of human being. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Because at my core, and the way I was raised, the values I was raised with, man, you know, I can only be mad for so long. I can only flare up and think negative for so long. And then it's just a matter, within a couple minutes or so, I can cool myself down and think sensibly and just go back to, love for all, hate for none. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's going into this fight, which makes it so interesting. Anthony Joshua often talks about his background, how he came up, how he grew up, rough life, and et cetera, et cetera. But I just don't think at his core, he's just this mean human being. I just don't think that. But for this fight, he's going to have to be, and he's going to have to be ready to die. Biggie Smalls, baby, he's going to have to sort it out. Because if not, he's going to take another loss. And the $100 million paydays, I want to point this out too, all that goes away. All that goes away because what's he marketing? Just his name, his profile? Those belts mean everything. The belts are your resume. The belts are the bargaining chips. He has nothing after that, and he still has a lot, but really there's nothing. The belts are what matter, and that's what Eddie Hearn's out here pinging and stressing over all kind of stuff right now. But if they can get through this, they can take that deep breath and just blow it all out, they'll be good to go. But when it comes to Usyk, part of me I want Usyk to win too. I almost want both of these guys to win because that's how much respect I have for both of them and just what AJ brings to the table as a human being and a role model. What Usyk brings to the table as a human being role model and what it would mean to see him come out victorious and what that would do for the people of Ukraine. But at the end of the day, I just think when you look at it and just what those physical attributes that Anthony Joshua has, he shouldn't lose a fight. He is just that impressive, that impressive of a specimen of man. This guy should not lose any fights. But we're going to find out, man. That being said, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to all the veterans, Eddie Hearn, Puff Daddy. He'll be dancing all over. The guy all over Saudi Arabia. They may arrest his ass for being intoxicated out there in public when he's not supposed to. But if Anthony Joshua wins this fight, you better believe me, man, it's going to be a party out there in Saudi Arabia. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.